the water?
Well, it just slaps the water, and it's an instinct bite, but he fell on it. It let go. He got his left arm up on the gunnel and was bringing his right arm up when the other one hit him in the shoulder. And that got an elbow and a little bit of thrashing, and then he got up and was in the boat. Got in the boat and looked at his leg and, laid down, knocked on the door and opened the door and told the captain, I got whacked by a shark, come on, help me. And he laid down on the cockpit.
How many stitches?
About 130.
Holy wow.
Yeah. And,
that's all right.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this story where the stars lined up.
Ahoy! This is your captain speaking, Greg Michael of Pinnacle Marine Group, Marine Surveyors, and welcome aboard the Nauti Buoys Boat Show. I'm joined by Captain Happy, Glenn Shadbolt, Marine Mechanic and Shipwright, and aboard this vessel, we talk everything about boats, the build, the mechanics, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We go where the seas take us. The topics will be endless. Electronics, marinas, restaurants, vacations, cruising and fishing. Our show includes live callers with real questions. Let's fare these waters together. Call 772-773-2600 every Tuesday between 5 and 5:30 p.m. Eastern. If you're a guest or a caller, you certainly are naughty. Ahoy, and welcome to the Nauti Buoys Boat Show. I'm your host, Captain Greg Michael, Marine Surveyor, and sitting next to me is our beloved Captain Happy, Glenn Shadbolt, Marine Mechanic and Shipwright. And if you're a guest or a caller, you certainly are naughty. Say hi, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi, Glenn. Okay, so we're going to do some quick introductions. We are very, very privileged to have a world-renowned fisherman, just a world traveler, Rufus Wakeman, Captain Rufus Wakeman. Rufus is a charter captain, world-renowned fisherman, just a jack of all trades here. So say hi, Rufus.
How you doing, gang?
Good.
Good to be here.
Excellent. We're so glad to have you. So we're going to get into the show, but as usual, I always start with a joke. Glenn don't like my jokes, but I like my jokes. So
I have not commented. I leave it up to the masses.
The masses.
A joke, a pun, or...
Okay. Two guys are quietly sitting in a fishing boat, sucking down beers, when suddenly the first guy says, I think I'm going to divorce my wife. She hasn't spoken to me over 2 months. The second guy sips his beer and says, you better think that over. Women like that are extremely hard to find. Good joke.
I think you were under peer pressure on that one. The fender's supposed to go between you and the dock, not you. Anyway.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, so let's get into the show. Rufus Wakeman, we're going to talk a little bit about what he does, when he started, all of it. So let me just get right into it and ask him a few questions. So number one, Rufus, rumor has it that you are a descendant of the John Deere family.
That would be correct, yeah. John Deere was my great-great-great-grandfather.
Wow, that's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great heritage. You don't ride tractors, though?
No.
Okay.
No. Well, they do make a really good marine engine.
Yeah, they do.
They do. But no, I traded the tractor for a boat.
Good choice. That's
a lot
great.
less dust.
Yep. And their blue marlin don't live in a field of corn.
You got that
right. So where are you from originally?
I was born and raised here in Florida. I grew up in Palm Beach and basically fished since I was about 5 years old and just decided to make a career of it and got my captain's license in 85 or 86 and just got my 8th renewal, so
wow.
I'm still a captain, old and fat, but, hey.
Well, you look pretty good to me,
yeah.
So yeah, you're doing something right.
Yeah, it's a fun life, a life on the sea.
Yeah. So tell us about how you started in charter captaining and where it all started.
Well, like I said, I grew up in Palm Beach, and my grandfather took me out when I was a kid in 1967, and I caught a 29-pound amberjack, and I can still remember telling the mate not to help me And I mean, I was a 5-year-old kid with a 29-pound AJ and getting my ass kicked. And finally, I had to, all right, you can hold the rod while I crank the handle, you know. And the thing came up over the side of the boat, and I was just in awe. And it stuck. And then my dad and my mom would take me out, and we'd go dolphin fishing or king fishing. They'd charter a boat, and they were both members of the West Palm Beach Fishing Club. And it just evolved from there. You know, I've always fished, and I'd walk my dog on the beach and before school with a Zara spook and a, you know, Garcia Ambassador reel, and catch barracudas in Jackson and so forth, and, you know, snook at night over the Worth Avenue piers and Brazilian docks and so forth. And it's a great, you know, good upbringing. And back then it was just, you know, Palm Beach was an awesome place to live, and, you know, safety, there was no crime or no issues. It was just safe for kids to run around at all hours of the day and night. So
Yeah, that's when Florida was Florida.
Yeah.
I think everywhere was like that in the 70s.
You know.
Because back in the 70s, you know, you jumped on your bike, you had no phone, it got dark, you came home.
Yeah. I mean, I got a good buddy of mine, you know, Rick Tatata, who tells me stories about his mom giving him $1 and going down and getting on the bus in Jersey and, you know, northern New Jersey, and going to a pond and fishing and coming back. You know, you could buy a sandwich, a bus ticket one way, and a bus ticket home for $1. You know, and it's times have changed.
Yeah, now they close Jersey.
Well, you just can't do anything. You can't, you know, I mean, you're not going to let your 10-year-old kid on the streets at night anyway, so.
And you can't eat anything out of the water there. You know, that's the other horrible about with everything going on.
Yeah, it's all bad.
You need clean water to, you know.
Well, I'm a big advocate for the organization called Captains for Clean Water and the Coastal Conservation Association, known as the CCA. Mm-hmm. I've been the local chapter president for 25 or 26 years, and, you know, we have an annual banquet fundraiser over at the Indian Riverside Park, and it's a worthy cause. But, you know, CCA is fisheries management and fishermen access. And they try to come up with a plan of what species are, you know, limits and closed fishing zones and long lining. CCA will jump on these things and try to either, create conservation, get long lines out of the water, sargassum harvest is, they've just been involved in a lot of making redfish a sport fish in the state of Florida, oyster replanting, grass replanting, all that sort of stuff. It's
very hard to fish down here. Because I lived on Long Island, and I fished since 1970.
Right.
And you had the fish, you could do it. You come down here, there's a million fish. And I just like to use dead bait. Dead bait, dead fish, and just float it. Half the fish here, you're not even allowed to catch them with that.
Snooks are, closed half the year, and they're like a Cuban cigar.
They're too crafty for me. I'm not even trying.
Anything that you can't have has to taste better, right? It's like a Cuban cigar, you know? Right. And
it's the only one you're not wheezed the next day.
Most fish to me are worth more to me alive than dead, and it's going to be the most expensive fish you catch.
Right.
If I'm offshore trolling or live baiting and catch mahi or cobia or kingfish I'll usually give to a friend to smoke it. But hey, I'm not opposed to whacking a mahi or two or cobia or
that's the problem.
And so forth.
I eat everything I catch. So,
right.
Some of the little things. They're a little red and fleshy.
Don't do that, because last time I was fishing in the Intercoastal, there was a boater next to me, and every fish I picked up, he looked over and go, "Don't eat that. Don't eat that."
You can eat fish. You can eat black drum out of the Indian River and the St. Lucie River. It's not that big a deal. Right. I mean, I doubt you're going to die from it,
Right.
Something you might not want to do all the time.
Yeah.
But, redfish, we don't have too many redfish. And like I said, snooks they're just...
they're too crafty for me.
They're just too important to me to kill them for a meal,
Yeah.
And, due to all the issues we've had with water quality around here for the Lake Okeechobee discharges and all the chemicals and the western
algae
runoff,
blooms.
the algae, oh, God, that's a whole other nightmare. But the St. Lucie and Western Martin County, watershed's a big area. And, the FWC just sprays Roundup right into the water from Orlando south. Mm-hmm. And the Kissimmee River, Lake Okeechobee, Lake Kissimmee, all your little nooks and crannies and drainage canals and ponds and reservoirs get a big dose of Roundup almost every week,
Right.
and to control the aquatic vegetation. And that transfers into being discharged into the Indian River Lagoon. And so we lost all the seagrass.
Right.
Killed all our lobsters.
Killed, well,
What is a lobster? It's a bug.
Well, we have crawfish. We don't really have lobster. It's a
But it's same thing, though, right? The lobster
Well,
is a bug, and the
spiny
stuff
lobster.
killed. Right.
The spiny lobsters, you can still get them offshore here. As a matter of fact, Fort Pierce is usually in the state of Florida. There's like a contest during mini season or the season. Fort Pierce usually yields a 9-pounder or 8-pounder every year. Wow. Which is a pretty good sized bug, and
Bug.
But you're allowed. I mean, mini season jump starts the dive shops and gets them in, a little bit of revenue for a 2-day insane number of people are out there, and it's just nuts, But hey.
Like that thing on Jaws when they're all going out to get the shark.
Right.
Yeah, they're all running over.
Hey, Ben Cartwright,
Men.
Hey. Speaking of sharks, you have a son named Marlin.
Yes.
Appropriate name, by the way.
Yes.
I read online, I couldn't believe it. Your son was involved in a pretty scary shark attack.
Yes, he was.
Let's talk about that. Tell me.
Well, he's been a mate. He's lived in Costa Rica for 2 years. He's been to the Dominican Republic. He's been all through the Bahamas. I mean, I've taken him to Australia.
That was Glenn's beer, by the way.
Yeah, right. Hey, good job, Glenn. I might join you here shortly. And but no, so he's a water boy, and he's a good free diver, and he's got a lot of experience on the water, and they were down in the Bahamas. He was mating on a 61 Garlington named the Bucket List, and in the Flying Fish Marina in Long Island, Bahamas, which is about 430 miles away from Florida, there are anywhere from 2 to 3 dozen sharks in that marina at any given time, because they become...
What are they, bull sharks?
Caribbean reefs for the most part.
Oh, but, those are the ones that like in the packs, right?
They're a pack critter. But, when they're stuck in a marina, they're really a pack critter. So, you're dealing with just call it 30 sharks at any given time that are conditioned to the slap.
Oh, how's that going to work for me?
When something hits the water, they're on it in a frenzy. And so he was going to jump on the boat. Normally, he would walk to the bow and just kind of step off. It might be like a 1-foot difference. And he had done that like 4 times, so he opted for, this is the last time I'm getting on the boat. I'm going to sort out some gear, and then I'm going to go inside and relax on the couch in the AC, because it's about 100 degrees down there. So there was a swell in the marina, and the boat was lurching in the slip.
A large sport fisherman boat, but we won't get into that.
Well, I mean, 61-foot boat, but fortunately the Garlington has a low transom, a low cockpit.
Yeah.
Because
I was talking about the boat that left the large one.
Yeah, right. So no, but this is there's a swell, because Flying Fish Marina is right off the ocean. Mm-hmm. So any sort of a swell that's in the ocean comes right into the harbor. And we all know that if a boat's lurching on its lines, I mean lurching and, rocking to and fro, when it gets tight on the line, it snaps back. So he just timed his jump about a second off. And when he jumped off the dock, the boat snatched away from him. His toes hit the gunnel, and he went in the water. He had his hands on the gunnel and was just getting ready to pull himself up to do the chin up to swing up into the boat, and bang, the first shark hit him.
Wow.
And it hit him in about, second and a half, 2 seconds. That's all it takes.
How many pounds are these sharks about?
They're, 70, 80, 90, 100 pounds.
So it's like a tarpon or something.
These are the Caribbean reef sharks. Now, he got bit by one that has a 10-foot wide jaw. 10-inch wide jaw. Right. 10 to 11 inches. So it's 7-foot shark, 8-foot shark.
It's like 100 pounds.
And, it's a good 100, 125, 130 pound shark. But, so it grabbed him, and for the grace of God, he let go of the gunnel and fell on top of the shark. But now he's underwater.
Ooh.
With the shark. But sharks are a highly sophisticated animal. They are, they've evolved over millions of years. They have reasoning in their little pea brains, and they have the ability to, protect themselves, and they're highly predatory.
They're very good at what they do.
The ampullae of Lorenzini in their nose, and you got to realize everything they eat in that marine is cold. It all comes out of an ice box that gets filleted and thrown in the water. It's anywhere from 3 pounds to 20 pounds. A 50-pound mahi carcass might only weigh 20 pounds.
So actually, the people cleaning the fish are bringing the sharks into
people,
the marina.
It happens a lot. You can go to Sailfish Marina in Singer Island here in Florida, just south of here. There are 20 to 40-pound Jack Crevalle around the fish cleaning table.
And
here comes an 8 or 9 or 10-foot bull shark, and there'll be a 300 or 400-pound stingray, massive animals, and their sheep's head, and all the little weird fish. And
who needs a boat?
Right, but it's these fish. They take up these locations as a feeding station.
Sure.
So once they're there, they're there.
And he the shark thought your son was bait. Slapped the water.
Well, it just slaps the water, and it's an instinct bite, but he fell on it. It let go. He got his left arm up on the gunnel and was bringing his right arm up when the other one hit him in the shoulder. And that got an elbow and a little bit of thrashing, and then he got up and was in the boat. Got in the boat and looked at his leg and, laid down, knocked on the door and opened the door and told the captain, I got whacked by a shark, come on, help me. And he laid down on the cockpit.
How many stitches?
About 130.
Holy wow.
Yeah. And,
that's a record.
So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this story where the stars lined up. For one, the captain had the wherewithal just to get a tourniquet going right off the bat. So he did not damage, the femoral artery. But he was pumping blood out pretty good there for a few minutes. And, he's got multiple teeth, punctures, and then all down by the knee was a mess. And
salt in the wound. Let's not forget there's salt in the wound.
Not only salt, but there's a lot of little critters that live in ocean water. Right. And so he got in the boat. They, pressure and tourniquet and got it all stopped, got the bleeding stopped, and got him up onto the dock, into a wheelbarrow down the dock, into a van that just happened to be there.
Wow.
And the back of the van was open. So they basically just wheelbarrow dumped him in the back of the van and took off for the clinic. Now, the doctor, the attending physician on Long Island, is a gentleman named Dr. Lightbourne, and he's a Bahamian, and he's very good at what he does, because I can honestly say that he did a really good job in sewing my son up. Wow. Now, the gauge of stitch was a large gauge of suture, and the spacing was just field hospital. We're talking, this is a MASH unit.
Right.
And they're going to get you ready for transportation.
So you're talking 140 stitches course, not even flat.
Correct.
So we're almost 200.
Maybe, I mean,
but you got to seal the wound and
everything. Right. So they got him prepped. I mean, at that point, it might have been 100 stitches. Then when he got back to Florida the next day, because, the owner was going to leave on Sunday, so they had a plane ready, a little charter plane out of West Palm, but it's got to be a King Air. It's an 860-mile round trip. So you got to have a plane that's capable of flying over 1,000 miles.
Wow.
There's not many twin turbo, twin prop planes, that can do that can land on these small strips, but a King Air is one of them. So they just bumped it from Sunday to Monday. Meanwhile, I get on the phone and talk to some neurosurgeons, and a friend of mine that I grew up with in Palm Beach, who's now a retired neurosurgeon who worked at St. Mary's. He got on the phone and got a hold of the CEO of St. Mary's Hospital, and she responded with, yeah, man, we'll do whatever we can to help the kid. And then it goes one step further. Dr. Borrego, who is a ER attending physician, and he's a surgeon, just happened to be on duty the next day. He's a shark bite specialist.
Wow.
All right. In 2012, a kid came in and had a wound.
He must have been divorced like 3 times.
No. So he came in. This kid had come in. He had been attended to at another hospital, and they did not properly close the wound up, and they did not irrigate it correctly. because once again, ocean water has a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And you're in a third world country.
You
so-
know. Well, this happened in Florida.
Oh, I
So-
thought that was...
No, this is the kid that I'm talking about got bit here in Florida somewhere. And so they ended up bringing the kid to Dr. Borrego, and he had to reopen the wounds and go in and irrigate it and get the kid on an antibiotic protocol. But somebody posed a question about what bacteria lives in a shark's mouth.
Yeah.
And everybody looked at each other and went,
Everything in the
I
sea."
I don't know. You know, so Dr. Borrego took it upon himself to go out and catch a bunch of sharks and swab their mouths and grow the bacteria in a petri dish and then administer antibiotic protocols to come up with what works best.
Wow.
And each shark has a signature bacteria, not to mention just rotten food, rotten dead fish. But you know, he came up with some pretty interesting results, and they, you know, got it to a point where, all right, we got a handle on this. And, you know, then to add another little shining star that fell into place is just happened to be an orthopedic surgeon at the hospital that day who had finished his duty. Dr. Borrego, you know, confronted him and said, hey, would you like to assist me on this kid who got bit by a shark, his knee? He's got what looks like, you know, a possible knee issue.
Yeah.
So the orthopedic surgeon jumped at the chance and said, yeah. And he hung out for a few hours and waited, and they got into the OR theater and opened them all up, and the orthopedic guy went into his knee and opened the wound up a little larger and examined it, irrigated it with 3 liters of saline, and then administered an antibiotic liquid into his knee. And then Dr. Borrego stitched him up with a much finer suture and a much tighter pattern. So the scarring is minimal. He's still got chick magnets on his leg, though, you know what I mean? So it's impressive, you know, and he's about 90% back. His knee is really the issue because there were 2 punctures in his kneecap. But one of the reasons they opened it all up is because cartilage loves bacteria.
Right.
And bacteria will get into cartilage and just eat it, and it's a real mess. So he's fine. I mean, he's going to be fine.
Oh,
You know,
thank
he'll
God.
make a full
Thank
recovery.
God. Oh, God bless.
So that's basically the whole shark attack scene from, you know, beginning to end. And,
All right. Well, I'm not swimming in these marinas.
No. And I mean, there have been so many recent attacks. There were 3 girls attacked in Fort Walton Beach up in the Panhandle last week or 10 days ago. I think there was another kid in St. Pete who got hit by a bull shark. His leg's gone.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, I got a question about bull sharks. So I got my boat in Stewart, right after you go through that Roosevelt Bridge and all that. And, you know, I took up fishing as a hobby. You know, I'm remarried and everything. And I don't really care if I catch anything because, you know, I got a fantastic new wife and everything. And just drinking and whoring is not good. So I was told I need a hobby. So
There you go.
taking up fishing. So I go out. But it's weird, you know, when I walk out to the boat, the shallows, you know, and they look like bunker, you know.
Mullet.
And they're silver.
Mullet.
And they chew the side of the boat
Yeah,
sometimes.
they're herbivores.
So sometimes in the marina, these fucking things will jump out like 3 feet in
Yeah.
the water, like 5 feet. So I'm
Right.
like, there's a big fish there.
No.
So I'm trying to catch things. They don't jump out like that for fun.
Yeah, they jump out. There's actually, I don't think it's known why they jump out. We just call them happy fish.
Happy fish.
Yeah,
'Cause they jump.
because they can.
It must be the toxins. Is it that
it
toxic
could-
tide? You get a little of that red tide?
Well,
It's like,
you know,
ooh,
there's
acid.
so like snook, you know, snooks and tarpons and things like that can go between salt and fresh. They're like what's called a euryhaline fish. They can tolerate, you know, fluctuations in salinity. So, you know, there's a thought that they'll go upriver to get rid of parasites. You know, because they're a saltwater creature, and if they get copepods and little critters on them, they can go up there and these things will fall off.
'Cause-
Mullet may just be jumping to knock them off.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
I don't think they know why they jump.
And we got 3 feet of water in there. And I saw some massive porpoises in the other day.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we got the turtles. Then I couldn't figure it was a tarpon or something. It was like in 1.5 feet of water, and it was about like 6 feet long.
It's probably a snook.
No, it was like 6 feet long.
Okay, it might be.
But the problem is, it was in such shallow water. When it jerked, it moved so much water, it left a hole all the way to the ground.
Yeah.
But now supposedly the bull sharks come in there too.
Bull sharks are in the river.
They breed in the freshwater.
They, I'm not sure. I'm not an ichthyologist. I can't really speak of, breeding proclivities of a bull shark.
Yeah.
But we do have them in the river, and we got hammerheads that come in the crossroads down by the inlet, and I've seen 10,
At the crossroads?
I've seen 10, 12 footers in there, 10, 11, 12 foot hammerheads in there.
Well, let's get out of Florida. So he could talk all day about Florida, but
Yeah.
So tell me where your fishing travels took you. So and what you hunted. Let's go into that.
Not a big hunter. There's a certain finality in pulling a trigger, although I've shot a bunch of birds, pheasants.
No. I mean fish hunting.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I've been fortunate in my life to be able to travel to Australia, Africa, Central America, Costa Rica, Argentina, Bolivia, Dominican Republic, Bahamas, Alaska, Africa. I'll say that again because
how
that's
many
the best.
languages do you speak?
What do you?
I know you speak
English.
Spanish.
Speaking.
You got to speak Spanish.
No, ¿Dónde está la baño, por favor? That's about the most important.
I don't even know what
Spanish.
that means.
Where's the bathroom? And then the other one is uno más cerveza, más rápido, por favor, which is, can you please bring me a beer fast?
That's all you need to know. A beer in a bathroom.
Yeah.
So when are we going drinking?
What do you fish for in Africa?
Tigerfish.
Okay.
And I also fished for Atlantic sailfish over there.
Okay.
That's in the country of Senegal, off Dakar, Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
I was over there in '88 on the boat, the world famous Madam and the Hooker.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I had the privilege of fishing them 5 times, I believe. I fished them in Africa. No, 4 times. Africa, Costa Rica, Australia, and Cabo.
Nice.
And I actually made the trip from Hawaii to Australia on the boat with Skip and Captain Skip Smith, Scotty Levin, Greg Mercurio, and the engineer Jerry Parsons and his wife Barbara, and a South African gal named Jackie Atchison, who was a photographer.
Nice.
And, she documented the whole trip, and it was great. We had a blast. 20 days at sea.
Wow.
It's a little bit of an adventure. Yeah. I can honestly say that 3 days in 15-foot seas was unpleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no sea keepers back then.
No.
Sure find out who gets seasick quick.
She was a 110-foot steel-hulled cruise ship out of Louisiana, and the owner Jerry Dunaway took a leap of faith and dumped a bunch of money into this thing and turned it into the first real world traveling mothership operation. There was another boat called the El Zorro, who had a 32-foot open boat that they could bring up on the back. But Dunaway built one that took a 49-foot GNS.
Wow.
Which is, with a full tower and a full sport fishing boat and a boat that goes backwards faster than forward practically. And GNS boats were built in Destin, Florida. They're arguably the most utilitarian, beat it with a hammer.
Yeah, they're work boats.
It's just a great boat. They're a beautiful line and all that, beautiful appearance, a lovely boat, but there's not many boats in the industry that can take the beating they can take. And they didn't build many, and they no longer build them. And so if you have the opportunity to buy a 50-foot GNS, I highly recommend it,
Sometime soon. So, world records. There's rumors out there that you have world records.
The first one I caught was in Africa, was a 12-pound tippet fly Atlantic sailfish that weighed 65 pounds and, 9 ounces or so.
Wow.
And
What kind of fish?
sailfish on a fly rod.
On a fly rod.
And then we went to Costa Rica and got the 8-pound Pacific and the 4-pound Pacific. Mm-hmm. And then, I was down in Australia, and there were some vacancies in the world record book, so I caught some barramundi and some queenfish. But I actually did break one of the queenfish records.
Ah.
And now, this is back in the, 89. you know, and Australia was still pretty rural and, you know, rustic. I mean, now it's a little bit more metropolitan, but not much.
Yeah.
It's a great place. I mean, if I had anywhere in the world to go fishing, it would be there like that.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's insane.
What's the species like in Australia? Give me some.
Well,
species.
you know, they've got everything we have here and 100 times more. You know, I mean, they got cobia, we got cobia. They got kingfish. They have what they call a Spanish mackerel. Or a tangigi, or a narrow-barred mackerel. It is I think 120 or 30 pounds is the record that comes from Korea.
Wow.
I want to say South Korea is where that record comes from. But it's just like our kingfish with a silver body with dark stripes, as to where a wahoo is a dark body with light stripes. And it's just like our kingfish. You know, it skyrockets baits and acts just like a kingfish and tastes just like a kingfish. But it's they also have, you know, the sailfish. They have blue marlin. They have black marlin. They have striped marlin. They have permit, 2 species of permit, bonefish, giant trevally, which is similar to our jack crevalle, which is arguably one of the most highly sought-after game fish for the fly guys that go to the Seychelles Islands. Because you can be wading in, you know, little mid-thigh deep water and catch a 60-pound jeet,
Wow.
you know, on fly. And, you know, it's a battle. And, you know, there's no IGFA, International Game Fish Association rules.
Right.
When you're wading and you've got a 60-pound GT coming at you, you throw a fly with a 130-pound right to the fly.
Right.
So, you know, you're just holding on for dear life.
What comes with a world record? What's the prize?
You get a certificate and a pat on the back.
Oh, nice.
And then a bunch of people trying to beat you, which is fine because records are made to be broken.
That's
Well,
right.
don't you get
know-
the sponsorships? A little bass boat, and you drive around with a funny baseball hat with, you know, like a NASCAR guy. Don't you go around like a Christmas tree?
No, that's
You don't do
not.
that?
Nah, that's.
Well, you know what? You can't be a Christmas tree on a boat because you get electrocuted. So
There you go.
There
No,
we
but
go.
the record that I'm most proud of is a 53.5-pound bull dolphin on 15-pound tippet.
Wow.
16-pound tippet is what it's called in the IGFA.
And how long did that take?
About 15 minutes. You know,
Well, that's not
the
bad.
fish never dove, thank God. Because if a big bull dolphin goes down, I'm going to be there for a while. And the longer you fight them, the weirder the stuff can happen.
You know, everybody listening is going to want to know this, and it's not that important, but everybody wants to know. What's the biggest fish you caught?
I've got 2 that are about the same size. I've got a 600, 650-pound black marlin on the Great Barrier Reef and about a 650 blue marlin from the island of Madeira, Portugal.
Wow.
And,
Big fish.
Yeah, they're big. Yep. You know, the ultimate game is a 1,000-pounder.
Yeah.
And, you know, both places where I was, it could just as easily have been a 1,000-pounder. Especially Australia. They've got more grander black marlin than I think all other oceans combined in blue marlin.
Yeah.
Is Costa Rica the capital of the sport fishing world?
No, Costa Rica's got,
Because it was all release.
it's all release. You're not allowed to kill a billfish. They've got rooster fish. They've got big cubera snapper, wahoo, tuna, black marlin, blue marlin, sailfish, and striped marlin, dolphin, wahoo.
But they're no longer the capital of the world? Who's got that now?
It's you know, I mean, if I had to give it, I'd give it to Australia as being the capital of the world. As far as
Did you see the thing with the windsurfer or with the great white shark?
Yeah.
The video? Yeah. I don't know if I want to fish in Australia.
that was I don't know if that was Australia. I'm thinking
saw
that
it.
might have been off of San Francisco.
Hey, did Hemingway ever get his big fish?
In The Old Man in the Sea, that would have been Santiago. That would have been Santiago as the gentleman, and you know he brought back a skeleton.
Right.
But that's you know, a great story, and you know Ernie was pretty groovy, and you know he fished the Bahamas a lot and fished around the world, you know, with Zane Grey and Kip Farrington and people of that stature. You know, Michael Lerner, who's the founder of the IGFA, he and his wife, and Lou Marin fishing down in Iquique, Chile in the 50s, and Lou Marin's world record swordfish is still the largest swordfish ever caught on rod and reel.
And what year was that when he caught
I'm
it?
going to say somewhere between 53 and 55.
Wow. And it still stands.
1,182 pounds.
How many big fish are left, though? Have we decimated where
There's
no, because, like you get the hunters with the antlers, and that was supposed to be the strongest deer to repopulate?
There's not, the tagging. They do a lot of satellite archival tagging on the billfish and so forth, but in the 90s, the island of Madeira went off for 2 years, and there's a lot of 1,000-pound blue marlin caught the Cape Verde Islands over off of Africa, off Senegal.
Which never got to breed to make other big ones.
Any female marlin breeds, and, we don't know how long these things live. They tag them, and whether you get the tag back or not, or the sharks eat it, or blah, blah, who knows. Mostly sharks, orcas are always there, but, I've only seen 2 in my life.
Right.
But they've seen them off the Keys, and, it would be an awesome sight.
Have you fished northeast, like off of Montauk?
I fished for striped bass once out of Montauk with Michael Potts.
The run.
We were at the race.
Yep.
And out at the Rip.
Yep.
I spent a lot of time surf chucking off of Amagansett and East Hampton, Georgia, that area. Mm-hmm. But back in the 80s, there wasn't any bass. No. All the bubbies, the hull seiners, had wiped them out, so they discontinued the hull seining.
Oh,
the guys who launch off the boat. They launch their boats off the beach.
What about the other side? What about the Pacific side? Anything over there?
Costa Rica, Guatemala.
But nothing California up north?
No. I really like to go to California to catch the white sea bass.
Wait, you want to go to California?
Absolutely.
Okay.
To go fishing.
It's not like I'm going to move there and hang out with Gavin Newsom or nothing, or Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
But, I would go there to catch white sea bass, calico bass, the southern yellowtail, and, which is like our amberjack.
Right.
And the Pacific halibut, the California halibut,
Right. Okay, good.
They're big. I would love to.
Well, a halibut, no. A California halibut,
not 30, like Alaskan.
30, 35 pounds, maybe 40 pounds.
Because I fished Mauritius.
Right, but those
in
are
the 70s and the 80s.
Flounders and flukes.
And you would go to Mauritius, you didn't even need to put bait on. You would just put a shiny hook down, and I had 3 children, and we all went fishing, and you just fill the boat with fish. And as the years went by,
it's
you're spending all day to get one
catch
keeper.
One, yeah.
Well, they found them where they bred off North Carolina.
You got a beer?
Yeah,
Bingo.
give him a beer.
Yeah. Let's get the party started.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. You actually run a charter boat, don't you?
I did. I'm a owner-operator.
Okay.
I never ran a big boat. I 31-foot Jupiter or 24-foot Pathfinder, 21-foot Maverick.
Nice.
Inshore, nearshore, offshore, sailfish, stuff like that. And,
so you would charter, though?
Yeah. I chartered for 35 years.
Okay. Do you still charter?
No.
Okay.
No.
You're done with that?
No. The way I walked in here today, hobbled over with a bad back, that basically turned my... It got to be where, when you have somebody contacting you to... We're coming on this date, and then I can't fish them because my back's shot. All right, I got to start thinking about this. Plus that, there are guides out there who need the money more than I do.
Right.
And so I'm referring all of my friends here locally trips all year long.
Yeah, good.
Somebody calls me for a trip, I line up. I go into my phone, I got 15 guides lined up, and I pick 4 or 5. Fire them out, and then the next time I pick 4 or 5 other guides and fire it out, stuff like that.
Good. You do have another business, though. You have the cabins, don't you?
Yeah,
the fishing resort.
River Palm Cottages and Fish Camp on the Indian River right here in Jensen Beach.
Okay.
We're 7.2 acres roughly on the river side of Indian River Drive, and then we have 1.5 acres across the street of vacant land. Mm-hmm. I bought that so... no one would come in and build something stupid.
Right.
So it's vacant land, and it's never had anything.
Do you have docks or do you launch your boat there?
I do have a dock. It's, almost 300 feet long, and I have 6 boat slips at the end of it. But we have 23 cottages, cabins, rooms, apartments.
So people come, they bring their boats, they can dock them, they can...
I don't care if they hate fishing as long as their credit card works. You know?
So you got 23 cottages.
Yep.
You got a pool. I saw the pool.
We got a pool. We got a chickie hut. We are the wedding capital of Martin County, practically. And
The wedding capital of Martin County.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey. And, you know, we do
I
family
can do a little
reunions.
Elvis, you know. Is there?
Hey, bring it
I
on.
can do some weddings or something. I need
It's
some
the
money
wedding
here.
singer.
The wedding singer. So,
Come on, let's hear it. Come on. Let's go.
so how do people get in touch with you if they want to visit your camp?
RiverPalmCottages.com, 772-334-0401.
Excellent.
Yep.
Check it out. I've passed by. I've been there. It is beautiful, guys.
It's an interesting piece of, little land here. Most of all the property on that side of Indian River Drive is flat.
Right.
If there even is property on that side of the road.
Exactly.
And we have kind of rolling hills. Yeah. Unfortunately, due to Martin County's, taxation is theft. It's just becoming increasingly difficult to, maintain the property. It's all getting pretty old, and the taxes, insurance is a bitch.
Yeah, it's
Permission to use your own property?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I need
terrifying.
permission to use my own car, permission to use my own property.
It sucks.
Oh, can we open this up? Or?
Yes.
We're gonna do a
So, are you upset by having to pay a registration tax because it ain't a
You
fee?
tax the money I make. You tax where I live. You tax everything. By the time I get to 50, it's ridiculous, and everybody's too busy looking at their phones watching.
I'm sorry.
Everything.
When
for
you
us.
take a dump and flush it, they tax you.
you pay the tax on the water,
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's madness. It's madness.
and nobody's doing anything about it. We're just watching democracy.
What are we going to
float
Not
away.
democracy. We are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy.
gonna
Democracy is mob rule.
We're a banana republic.
We're
If
turning
you-
into
no,
a banana
No,
republic.
we've been a banana.
Wait,
we are a banana republic.
Guys, we're gonna save the politics show for another time. Right now, we want to talk fish.
Let's get into anarchy.
Yeah,
Come on,
I
we
mean,
just started.
this could be a
finally.
3-hour show
Finally,
then,
we
right.
got something.
Ready? Fishermen's of Anarchy.
That's my new website.
Yeah.
Started tonight.
Sounds like a biker show, like Sons of Anarchy, right?
Exactly. It's a biker show with boats.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It's a boat bike show. We're at the point in the show. We're going to take some callers, and they're going to ask them some questions, and then we'll come back to you. I want to hear some funny fishing stories.
All right.
And then so we'll get to the phones. I see them starting to light up here. Before we take a call, give me one quick funny story.
Oh, God.
If you got to say, "Oh God," it's
Yeah, I mean, it's. I've got a lot. I just can't remember any.
all right. Well, let's take the call and then you remember. Okay.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Hi, welcome to Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
Hi, this is Guy, and I have a question for the mechanic.
You have a question for Glenn?
Yes.
Oh God! All right, Glenn, you
Keep it up. Keep it up.
keep it up.
So, how you doing today, Mr. Guy? And your question, please.
We're doing good. Question is, I have a 17-foot Pro line with a 2-stroke 125 Merc. I took it out fishing this Saturday, and I noticed that the stream of water that exits the motor was a little less than normal. I checked the temperature gauge, and it was still within limits. So I kept fishing, but I want to know what I should do.
It's not overheating,
It's not overheating.
so it's probably just a clogged telltale. So usually most people keep a piece of wire on board because the spiders like to go in there and leave eggs and everything. So you take a little piece of wire, stick it up there, see if the flow is where it used to be. If not, on the top of the power head on the exhaust plate, there's a little plastic nipple. Be very careful. They break easy. Take the hose off. See if the water's coming out there. If the water comes out there strong, then it's from the hose there to the telltale.
So it's a clogged telltale.
Well,
Do you operate?
Not until he takes the hose off the top of the exhaust manifold to make sure that the water's coming out.
Do you operate your boat in a sandy environment?
No, I pretty much operated in the Long Island Sound, and it's
deep.
It's all deep.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Nope. Sand would not be your enemy up there.
So
And that's stage one. And then after that, if you're not mechanical capable, you would need a good mechanic to take it from there. But hopefully that'll help you be able to save you that first service call.
All right, good.
Okay, one other question. When was the last time your boat had 100-hour service?
I think about 3 years ago, I had the water pump done.
So how many hours would you put on your boat in a year?
Not that much, maybe 20.
Oh, you're fine. Okay.
Okay.
Because sometimes the impellers go. And impellers can go just from sitting.
Yeah.
You know?
Like a use.
Yep.
All right, good. Did we answer your question?
Yes, sir, you did. I'll check for spiders.
Thank you, son. Good.
All right.
Bing, bada boom.
Please subscribe to the show, and thanks, and call in anytime.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, welcome to Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
This is Rick, and my question is for Captain Rufus Wakeman.
Hey, how you doing, Rick? Go ahead.
Good. Rufus, I know you're an avid fly fisherman, and you've probably caught most pelagic species on fly. But my question is, how do you catch a swordfish, which is a deep water fish, on fly? What's the technique that you have to use to do that?
Oh, boy. Well, the sword fishing on fly just really started not, within the last maybe 5 or 10 years. A few people had the opportunity to catch them while they were anchored, or way off in the canyons up north, or I think one guy caught one down off St. Thomas while they were anchoring out trying to tuna fish at night, or not anchoring, just drifting. But anyway, what we do is we take 2 planers, and it's better to use an electric reel. You don't really have to, but you attach a sialoom stick to the planer, and then about 60 feet behind the planer, you have a hookless strip bait with, some sort of a rubber skirt on it, like a soft head, a hooker skirt, or, something of that nature. And you troll this, you put one out about maybe 300 feet behind the boat, and then you put another one out maybe 100, 120 feet behind the boat. Use a number 4 planer on the port side and a number 6 planer on the starboard gunnel, and the 6 planer goes down deeper and the other one's out pretty far. But you could see these sialoom sticks at night. The water's clean. You're out in 1,800, 1,500 feet of water. And so the rod is pretty much bent over hard because you have a planer on it. And when the rod trips, then you have a bite. So all you do is engage the electric reel and start to bring the strip bait in. Now, these baits will be anywhere from, 30 to 70 feet below the surface. But as soon as that rod gets hit, that bait starts coming to the surface and the swordfish will follow it. So the electric reel is a good way to do it because it's a constant reeling. It's a constant retrieve. If you have to hand crank it and that swordfish grabs it, he can make the turn and maybe rip the strip off and then he's gone. Wow. And, so you get it up. So when the planer hits the rod tip, the mate will go out and he'll grab it and start hand over hand bringing it in. And about that time, the boat goes into neutral in accordance with International Game Fishing Association rules for fly fishing. And then you present the fly to the fish, and the fly is a double hook, for lack of a better term, a chicken, a lot of big feathers, and you may use some sort of lumo material, like a self-illuminating material, or you could have they make a sialoom stick that's about an inch and a half long, and some of the guys who tie these flies have a little accommodation within the fly to accept these tiny little sialoom sticks. And so you just throw that out there, and the boat's now starting to slow down because you're in neutral. the mate gets that strip bait out of the water, so the next thing the swordfish sees is a fly, your fly. And, if everything goes well in a perfect world, he will bite it. And at that point, hopefully, you don't get hung up, and, the fish can make a clean run, and then you settle into the fight. I've had one bite doing it, and a damn fly line got stuck around the reel and broke it off. And it was a heartbreaking moment, because I was in a quest to be the first person to catch all 9 species of billfish on fly in a year. And I failed on the swordfish, but I caught all the marlin and the sailfish and all that stuff within 9 or 10 months. And
Awesome.
And
Yeah,
but I inspired a dear friend of mine, Marty Arostegui, and another guy, Roy Croniker, and they went out and they did it, And I mean, I sent Marty and Roy both to Australia to fish with Captain Jono Shales to get their black marlin, and Marty went to Cabo San Lucas, and he was going to fish with Grant Hartman but couldn't, and went with another gal, and they caught the striped marlin. And when when my phone blew up, I knew he was in Cabo. I saw Marty Arostegui on my phone, and I answered it, and he said, "The eagle has landed."
Nice.
And I said, "Congratulations, my friend." Marty Arostegui is an International Gangfish Association board member and trustee. He has over 400 world records, and he has gotten it down to an absolute science. And he'll go to a country, and he'll have all of his, forms already filled out for the species he's going to target. All he has to do is put the weight and the length and the long length and short length of the fish, witness signing and so forth. But he's really a treasure in the fishing world. And his son is a marine biologist, and his wife has been inducted into Lifetime Achievement Award stuff, and Marty's in the Hall of Fame and in this and that. And he's just a really sweet, wonderful man who's done a lot of great stuff for the sport.
Awesome. All right. So did we answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. It sounds very complicated and like a procedure. I think I'll stick with bum troll and live bait.
There you go. All right. Listen.
Hey, thanks, Rick. We'll see you, buddy.
Yeah, subscribe to the show. Thanks, Rick. All right, good. There's another one. Yeah, that does sound complicated, but yeah.
Bait and switching billfish on fly during the day is hard. Doing it at night, it's like by braille.
Right.
It's not easy. Roy Croniker, the gentleman I mentioned, he's being an IGFA trustee as well. He gets to do a lot of traveling. He's also got a beautiful boat and a great captain, Timmy Richardson's Australian fella, who runs one of Roy's boats. And my son worked for Timmy for 2 seasons down in the Dominican Republic, and Timmy's a light tackle fly guy in the billfish world, as well as a heavy tackle. He's probably got maybe 30, 35 grander black marlin under his belt, and he's fished the Great Barrier Reef for 20, 25 years, and he's a good bloke.
Nice.
And a good buddy. Yeah. And a very talented captain, and really runs a tight ship. And at one point, he was the hardest working guy in fishing. He had an operation in Australia called Tradition Charters, and then he had another one in the Dominican Republic called Chaser. And that boat was a 48 GNS. An interesting story, he picked the boat up in Puerto Rico. It was owned by a gentleman named Richard Love and his wife Marge. And they had built this boat, and they named it Sound Machine. And the reason is he was convinced that if he could introduce a low-frequency sound into the water.
Yeah.
So they built the boat with speakers and big amplifiers, and they had everything dialed in to pump these low-frequency vibrations into the water on top of the engine rumbling and so forth. And the story I heard was that, at the end of the season, the sound machine would basically have maybe 0.5 of fish per day more than the rest of the fleet.
That's it.
Well, that could be if you're fishing a 40, 50 days, that's 20 more fish, 25 more
it ends
fish.
up. It ends up.
Yeah. And it's a private boat. It's not for charter,
Right.
And so it's all pretty
So
fascinating.
what I learned from that is fish like music.
Fish like sound. They're not pumping music. It's a more just like a heavy.
Right. All right. Let me get this call. And
All
we'll
right,
talk.
cool.
Hi, welcome to Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
Hey, this is Guy. How are you, Greg?
Good. How?
Great to be on your show.
Thanks. What's your question? Is it for me, Greg?
I'm a broker,
Yeah.
and I'm just interested. There's a lot of surveyors out there that fail older boats,
Oh yeah.
and just wondering what your approach is.
So my approach to surveying an older boat. So here's the thing. First of all, there's no such thing as fail. You can't fail a boat. Like a boat doesn't take a test and fail, right? So
Right.
every person buying a boat, they have a budget, they have a utility. What do I want to do with that boat? Where am I going with that boat? You know, if they're buying an older boat and they're just going to the beach and back, they don't need a 65-foot Hatteras or a Viking, right? So
Right.
my
Yeah, they do.
yeah, they do. So my approach to surveying older boats is this. First of all, I don't fail boats. Everything can be repaired. Everything can, basically be done over. So, modern boats they're all Tupperware anyway, right? So
Right.
again, my approach would be this. I ask the customer what they want out of the boat, what their utility is, what they're going to use it for. I get personal with these clients too, and I survey the boat as per the age. So if you're talking an 80s or 90s boat, is it going to have some moisture? Sure. Is it going to have some delamination? Probably. The string is going to be a little wet? Sure. Maybe they go after a boat and they think they're going out, 30, 40, 50 miles in the ocean. And I say, listen, the boat's fine to do near coastal, inland, but you're not doing deep sea. You're not going out to the canyons. You're not doing things like that. That time has passed for that boat. So,
Right.
but I would not ever tell a client, listen, don't buy a boat based on this or that. I would say, it's really up to you and what you're going to use it for. So these surveyors that are failing boats, it's just not. It's not a word that's in our vocabulary. Certainly not in my vocabulary. And I would say any surveyors that do that to you, Guy, while you're brokering a deal, maybe you have to educate them and say, listen, this boat is a 1980s boat. It's seen its time, but it's still good to do this, and this, and that's what my client wants it for.
Okay.
All right.
All right. It's you've been a big help. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for calling in. Please subscribe and call in anytime.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Greg. Thanks. Appreciate it. Bye.
So
Yeah.
Australia,
Yeah. Go.
man, I'll tell you what.
Do the toilets really going the other way?
Yes, you want to get a boat surveyed? Wow, that is a tough place.
Really? Tell me why.
They just have a whole set of parameters that are completely different than ours.
Yeah.
And they're, like the boat has to be constructed in a certain way.
Yeah.
The gunnel height is very important. I mean, like sport fishing boats, they're not that attractive because the gunnel height is so high. They can't have like a 37 Merit or a, 61 Garlington.
Oh, you fall in the
all-
water, you're dead in Australia. Where
we
do you
gotta-
want to go,
All
Al?
right. We got another call, but I want to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Hi. Welcome to Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Who am I speaking with, and who's your question for?
My question is for Captain Rufus,
Sure. Go ahead.
a.k.a. Shrek, and this is
Shrek.
Scott
You must-
Lover,
it must be
a.k.a.
Donkey.
You must know him.
Yeah.
I do, man. My question is, why do you think it is you've had such a good summertime sailfish bite up in Stewart the last few years?
Gosh, I'll tell you what, that's a tough one. It's maybe these fish are hanging out because there's so much bait here. Because I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, man, I know Matt George had 11 yesterday in a bay boat, and I know Scotty's done real well lately, and I think Matt had 7 or 8 a couple days ago, and I know, Rich on Salty Days had a few, and I think he had 4 or 5, and they're just here. But, we get these big schools of threadfin up here, and that's really all I can think of, is that there's just a lot of food here for them.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yep.
Why do you have so much bait up there by you, and I'm only 30 miles south, and I got nothing?
Well, like you got to probably run up to the Juneau Pier. That'd probably
Jupiter. I got to go to Jupiter. Yes.
Yeah. But you leave Buer Inlet and you could be in Juneau in what, 20, 30 minutes? On a nice day, maybe 15,
on a
20.
good morning, you are correct, sir.
Yeah. And, I know they got big shoals of pilchard there, schools of pilchards and so forth. But we just have the threadfins up here. And, I've never really known them to be down there. I mean, I've lived here my whole life and fished a lot, as you know. And, there's just not any threadfins south of Jupiter.
No, there's not.
And it's a strange phenomenon. I know they get sardines down south, they get pilchards, down in Miami.
We get lucky, yeah.
But, maybe it's got something to do with the continental slope, the way we're shallow for so far, and you're not. Palm Beach, you're at the Black Buoy, and it's, 60 feet deep or 50 feet deep or whatever.
Yeah, it's 70 feet.
Yeah, we don't. Hey, you fished up here enough, man. We 70 feet, 6, 7 miles.
I do know. And my last question, Mr. Rufus, how do you think the fishing will be 20 years from now up there with all the pressure?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. It's that's a daunting question. With the increased pressure and the lack of and the water quality and the amount of live bait being removed from the water, even though, it seems like it's a never-ending resource. I don't know, There's a bunch of bait guys up and down the coast now, and I love them, and some of them are really, 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 really good friends, and I appreciate what they do. But, when you're pulling 4,000 or 5,000 baits out of the water every day times 50 or 100, boats. We got 3 or 4 guys just here in Stewart. I know another couple up in Fort Pierce, and probably 4 or 5 guys in Jupiter, and 4 or 5 guys in Palm Beach, and a lot of them are catching goggle eyes though. So goggle eyes live any gogs.
They do make it a whole lot easier for the average Joe to go fishing.
There's no doubt about it. The average guy who may have can't throw a cast net or doesn't understand how to initially operate a sonar and sabiki rigs and so forth, and it's just a luxury to be able to buy bait and boom, you're fishing at 6 o'clock instead of dicking around till 7 or 8 trying to catch bait, and it's definitely a game changer. And gosh knows, I love catching my own bait, but some days I can't, and some because some of these bait guys will travel. Go up to Cape Canaveral and, catch pilchards and thread herring and so forth, or, go to, Canaveral or catch croakers. And so, if we have bad weather for a while, we don't have any ability to catch pilchards or threadfin here or croakers. So it definitely is a luxury to be able to throw them $40 and get a dozen, or whatever.
No doubt.
The going rate on goggle eyes is about 40,000 per bait. It's, it's 125, $130 a dozen.
Yeah. You're spending fuel, and every time I go fishing, between the fuel and the ice and the beer and the water, and you got to get the hero
and the beer and the beer.
Right? Did you mention beer?
Yes.
So no, but it's kind of like the fuel. We're at $5 a gallon, and I have a Jupiter 31 with a pair of 300s, and to be honest, I don't even want to fish it because it's $500 a day.
Yeah.
I don't have any money.
And so I end up fishing out of a 26 Pathfinder with a single 300. It cost me $1.25 on a good day where I really run far, Right.
Life's so hard. Oh, I got a Pathfinder with a 300. Oh, my God, my life is so terrible. I'm fishing today. Oh, my God.
All right. So did we answer?
So I've got a question for this gentleman.
Yeah.
So Scott, how's the tarpon fishing down there?
The tarpon fishing can be on fire if you time it right and you can get some bait, man.
Yeah, right.
This time of year, no go, man.
No, man.
The shrimp get small.
The swimps, yep.
And there's just no live bait down here for me.
Does the rack room or rod rack or whatever the hell it is, do they have crabs still?
He does not.
Really?
Every now and then they get a thing called a mud minnow, which works just fine. It's like a little fleshy ball.
Yep.
Kind of just like a finger mullet, but a lot hardier.
Yeah, right. It's a cool little bait. Well, dig it, man.
All right. So we answer your question?
You definitely did.
All right. Listen, subscribe to the show and call in anytime.
You got it.
Take care. Tight lines, buddy. Tight lines.
Thank you.
See you, Biggie.
Take
care.
Take care. So that was really good.
But to keep those away from the bride and you having a fight. Why are you so happy? Nothing. But meanwhile, she's got a finger mullet under the freaking
bartender,
sheets.
I need another beer.
You were late. I drank all mine, and she doesn't have any. This is definitely a
We'll get you. We'll get you one.
No
We're a
worries.
full service bar.
We're good.
So let me ask you though, on the sailfish, you kite fishing?
I don't kite fish. I'm too old and fat to deal with that, and you need, the electric reels and all that stuff. I just pull them off the nose.
There you go.
I use a 5.0 VMC sure set circle hook, which I have used that hook for, at least 20, 25 years.
Right.
It's just a great hook. I mean, any one of these hooks work, but I just love that one. I mean, I use it for snook, for tarpon, for sailfish, it's like the only hook I use, and they work great. I mean, I've caught 150-pound tarpon on them. I've caught 70-pound sailfish on them. I've caught, 5-pound snook. I've caught 25, 30-pound snook, and just everything in between. It's just a great hook.
When the caller asked, why are we getting so much sailfish up here, you forgot to mention we're in the sailfish capital of the world.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep. No, I mean, this area, gosh darn it, thank God we have them, to be able to be so fortunate is to have such a magnificent fish right out our back door.
It's so
6, 7 miles
but you can't
away.
eat them.
Doesn't, you can, but it doesn't matter, man. It's
every time I pass a sign in Martin County, Stewart here, even in my neighborhood right here, there's a big sign. Sailfish capital of the world. So I'm glad to live here.
It's like I said, we're so fortunate to have them here along with big tarpon, big snook. And even though the snook fishing's just declined incredibly and the trout fishing is gone, we still get good triple tail fishing and, good, pompano fishing. This year, pompano fishing was great.
Right.
The tarpon fishing from, up the Prima Vista Bridge in the North Fork, all the way to the locks in the South Fork, all the way to the inlet, all the way up and down the beaches from Jupiter to Fort Pierce. There, some world-class tarpon fishing.
Yeah.
And it ain't easy. It's not that easy. Right. So, it kind of, weeds the garden a little bit. And, you got to persevere and pay attention. And
you got to fish.
You got to fish.
Fishing, not catching.
You got to fish smart, though.
You
got to fish smart. You just can't go out there and hack it, you know?
Right. Yeah, you can.
Nah.
No. You got to fish.
You buy some bait, you got a couple of beers, you just go out in the ocean, you drift around, and if you don't catch anything...
Here he goes with the
you don't
beer.
need to clean anything. But that's what I'm saying, is fishing is supposed to be a hobby, it's relaxation. Why ruin your whole weekend if you don't catch anything?
No, it's...
if you're out on the water, drifting around, just enjoy the day.
There's an old saying where they say, a bad day fishing is better than a good day at work.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
A bad day fishing sucks.
No, not for
period.
Me.
Yeah. Believe me, I mean it's still a nice place to be in if you're with good friends and so forth. It's just a wonderful time. But we all want to get a little bit of a reward for our efforts, and But no, it's hell. I mean, I've spent a lot of times out there where it just wasn't going to happen. The water was cold. It was this, that. There was nothing biting, and you come in with a big goose egg and try to catch a catfish just to save face.
As long as it's a cat fail. I caught one like this big the other day, but I had caught something. You were talking about them before, the something jack or whatever.
Jack Crevel.
Right. So I caught one of them, and there's no meat on them. And
Jack Crevel?
Not a lot.
Okay.
But I caught a gaff-fail about that big, but I didn't want the slime in the boat.
Yeah, you can put that on your axle and drive to Oregon.
I've been eating the smooth puffers, actually. What is the law with the smooth puffers? Can I
think there might be a season, I'm not sure, toadfish. Okay, I'm going to
There's
tell you
a lot
something.
of meat. As
Ready?
long as you don't cut the guts.
You got to
When
be careful.
I clean it, you lose a lot of meat. But as long
Fugu.
as-
That's called fugu. That's
What's
the
fugu?
sushi. That's the
Well, I
term,
cook
the
it,
term used for puffer fish. When you clean it, if you pierce something, you die.
Right.
It will kill you deader than a smelt. It is a highly toxic
Yeah, but the
fish.
smooth puffer, the big one that has all the meat.
The
on it.
rabbit fish. You're talking about a rabbit
I think
fish.
they call
It's a rabbit
it's got like
fish.
an octopus kind
Right,
of mouth.
it's a
but as long as you clean it, you lose meat and you stay away from the guts. But there's so
Right.
much meat on them. I
That's
can
a
actually
rabbit
catch
fish.
them. I can catch them.
How big is it?
I get them like that big.
It's a rabbit fish.
Yeah.
That's a smooth puffer, but a rabbit
but they
fish.
got a ton of meat on them, and it tastes good.
Good.
Well, go for it.
Right?
All right, listen, guys. We're I'm getting a look from the producer, so we're just about out of time. So at this portion, we always do a tip for the day, right? So
Yeah.
I'll do my tip. My tip is, listen, when you get a boat surveyed, know exactly what you're going to do with the boat. Know exactly what your utility is, budget, size, all these things. And you won't have to buy another boat the following year. So kind of think about this and definitely, talk to your broker, talk to your surveyor, and tell them what you really want to do with the boat. And it'll save you in the long run, because I have clients that have bought boats 22, 23 foot, and a year later they're buying 27 foot. So you're going to lose money. So that's my tip. Glenn, you got anything?
I don't know. We're so far off. You want a tip?
Yeah, I want a tip.
You really?
Stop it.
Are you sure? Here's the tip. So if a woman tells you she wants you to spend a lot of money and get down on one knee,
Yeah.
go buy yourself a Ducati and show you a picture of her going around a turn, dragging that knee on the ground.
Yeah, okay.
There you
There's your tip. All right. So, what's your tip?
Well, he's not going to like this. Okay.
Oh, boy.
When you go fishing, make the best of it. Pay attention, seat your knots correctly, make sure your gear's in top shape, and don't make your trip dependent on how much beer you can carry.
Because
No, you have to be legal coming in the inlet. Believe me, they're there. You got the Coast Guard, the sheriff. Every time I come back in the inlet, I got 3 of them there. Believe me, you have to be good and plus getting through the inlet.
Yeah, but Cap, we're gonna when you leave, we're gonna turn this into Glenn's AA meeting. So just
Bada boom.
bada
There we
boom is
go.
right. Okay,
Hey,
so
is that Assholes Anonymous?
Yeah,
How many
right,
people
yeah,
can I
right.
beat in the head today?
Yeah,
Oh, great. Let's
okay.
go. You got a hammer?
all right, so
Ball
we're basically out of time. I would really like to thank Captain Rufus Wakeman, awesome guest. We're gonna have you back over and over. We haven't talked about baits. We haven't talked. We have a plethora of subjects that you can speak of, and you
said bait?
Oh God, I can't with him anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to you.
But I got to tell you,
Bait and switch?
you're just a wealth of knowledge, and we really appreciate you being here. So again, I would like to thank our producer Micah Murley, our production assistant Samantha, and please hit that subscribe, follow, or like button, and please tune in next Thursday and every Thursday for the Nauti Buoys Boat Show. Every week we will have exciting guests, informative news, and may you have fair winds, following seas, and tight lines. God bless everybody.